Hey everyone, welcome back. This presentation is on user stories in detail. In particular, we'll be slicing our epics for our wire flows. Remember, an epic is a large-scale task that's made up of many smaller subtasks. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have a series of epics. Say this is for an app that allows for the that allows users to order from a restaurant or book reservations. And you can see they've got a series of epics on the right. They could shop or browse the menu. They could order. They could pay. They could log in so that their account is secure. They could book a table, or they could view the hours. So these are just some examples of what some larger scale stories might be. Our problem is to organize the subtasks that come along with each of the epics. And this is what a wire flow is all about, really, is about an organization of the different subtasks. So we do this by putting ourselves in our user's shoes and trying to imagine the things that they would need or the things that they would want as they're walking through a task. So this is very much an exercise that requires you to use your imagination. You have to imagine what it's like to be a user, and you have to imagine what the different screens are going to look like, and that you're going to have to imagine the different things that you're going to want to do. So in order to create the correct screens, you need to go through that process of imagining what they look like. So the first step is to list all the epics and choose one of them. So I've got a list over here, and we've got some activities in our course page that are basically taking you through this process. So I've chosen the login epic. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, log in, that's a really simple process, right? We see a login prompt, and then we enter the name and the password, and we click enter, and success, we're logged in. And that is what it should look like if everything works right, but it doesn't always work right. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make sure it seems that simple to the user. So it's really important when you're doing user experience design to be able to think like a user, but also to be able to think like all kinds of users, even the ones who maybe aren't so great at using technology. But if we had this set up as our login flow, then this would be the wire flow. We've got our login prompt where they enter their email and their password, and they click login, and then they get a success message that just says, success, you're now logged in. And if only it could be that easy. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. And so here are some issues that might arise. We see the login prompt and the user thinks, oops, I didn't mean to click login. So there needs to be some way for them to go back if they didn't mean to log in. Or if they go to enter their username and password, what if they don't remember their password? Or what if they don't even know if they have an account or not? And so there's got to be we've got to get to the situation where the user isn't thinking at the end. There's got to be an easier way to do this. They need to feel like the process is easy from the beginning, and that requires a lot of work on our part. So the first thing we need to do after we've chosen our epic is to slice that epic as finely as we can. So slicing up an epic means breaking it up into all of its subtasks, and to do so finely means breaking it up into each and every little subtask so that none of them get missed. So step one is imagining I'm my user. What are all the subtasks I'll need to complete to get logged in? You can see I've listed them over here. Each one gets their own post-it note. I've got the main example, my main epic up top, log in, and then each of the sub-stories I've listed down below. They've got to enter their username, their password. They need a lost password link. They need a create new account. They might want to use their Gmail. They might want to use their Facebook. They might need to confirm their email to make sure they typed it in correctly. They might need to cancel the login. They might need to save their login once they've created it so that they can enter it more easily next time. These are all the things that could be listed or sliced out of the login epic. And I do this by imagining that I'm a user and thinking, what could go wrong? And for each of the things, each of the tasks that the user has to complete, I create a post-it note for it. And then once I've got them all listed, I can start moving them around and rearranging them, adding new ones, taking away duplicates, and grouping them together. And then I can start to see how the flow might work. So in this example, you can see I've taken the login flow with all of my subtasks from the previous screen, and I've developed a screen flow that accounts for all of the things that could go wrong. Now, this is a little bit simplified. If I were doing this in real life, I would spend some more time making sure I had ironed out all the bugs. But you can see already that it's a lot more complicated than just this simple two-step flow from earlier. So here I'm going to start, and the user is going to get their prompt, and they're going to enter their username and password. And I need a way for them to create an account if they don't have one. So I've got a no account link, and this goes down to the create account flow. And if they forgot their password, they don't know what that is, then this goes up to the password reset flow. Now you can see there are two things the user needed to create on this screen. They needed to enter their name and they needed to enter their password. And so I've got a fallback if they don't have a password. That's this password reset. And I've got a fallback if they don't have a username. That's this create an account. I've also got a cancel in case they didn't mean to click on the login screen in the first place. So here, if they reset the password, this takes them to a password reset screen, and that's going to send them an email, and that's why this line leads all the way back around to the email confirmation. Once they confirm in their email, they'll come back up here, and they will either do manual entry or do the Google Facebook login. If they have no account, then they're going to go down here and they're going to create an account. And from the create account screen, they could either use Google or Facebook, or they could input their details manually. Either way, it's going to take them to it's going to send them a confirmation email, and that's going to have a link. When they click on the link, it's going to confirm their account and bring them back to this choice here. When they do go to enter their password, they can either log in with Google or Facebook, or they can manually enter their details. And either way, this is going to lead them to make sure you remember my account screen, and that's going to be the success message. So, this, as I said, isn't quite perfect. It's probably would be a little more complicated in some respects, and maybe after some revision, I might be able to remove the Remember Me screen and just include that in an earlier screen. And there might be some other things that I needed to change, but in a nutshell, now I've got my login flow, and I can start moving into sketching out my screens. So the first thing I'll do is I'll pick my very first screen. Here, this is the name and password screen. You can see I've got the email and password, but there's a few more fields than I had before. I'm going to give my users the option to sign in with Google or Facebook by tapping on one of these links. I've got a no account link, and if they tap on that, it's going to take them to a create account page. I've got an X button up here in case they want to cancel and dismiss this whole screen. Below the login button, I've got the forgot password link, and if they tap on that, it's going to take them to the password reset screen. So I've gone through each of the things that could go wrong, and I've incorporated those into my screen design. So I've created my first screen here. Building from here, I would go back to my flow, and I would move into the password reset screen, and I would then design that screen based on what was needed there. And after that, I would do my create account screen and so forth, and work through my entire flow. And when I'm done, I should have a screen like this for each of the entries in my login flow. And that is my wire flow. It's this login flow, but done in wireframes.